This video explains why the United States and Britain should not be too trusting of Putin and Russia. Comments on Putin's Jewish background and what is the correct relationship to have with them. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Now, in my video of April 28, 2022, titled Amusing but Not Funny Update on the War in Ukraine and a Warning to Germany and China, I mentioned what Germany and China are recently contemplating. Seeing Russia's very slow progress in the war in Ukraine, Germany and China are contemplating going to war against Russia first rather than attacking the United States, British Commonwealth nations, and Israel. Russia seems like an easy target for them to conquer. However, I warned Germany and China that the United States and Britain are not going to stand idly by. If they attack Russia, the USA will consider it an attack on itself and will immediately enter the war on Russia's side. United States and British motive for entering the war on the side of Russia is self-preservation. We will go to war with Germany and China for our own interests and not specifically in Russia's interests. The reason is obvious. If Germany and China conquer Russia, they will become even stronger and will become an even more formidable adversary in war for America, British Commonwealth nations, and Israel. By going to war when Russia is attacked, we will have Russia as a formidable ally. Therefore, it is not hard to see a self interest in this decision. The same, however, is not true if the United States, Britain, and Israel are attacked first by Germany, China, and Modi's India. Russia will not come to our aid in this situation. There are three very strong indicators of this. First is Putin and Russia's demonstrated attitude towards the United States. In my video of December 16, 2020, titled A Warning to America and Britain about Russia and Vladimir Putin, I described Putin's attitude about America from recent incidents. I stated, the Wall Street Journal reported on December 13, 2020, that multiple federal government agencies, including the U.S. Treasury and Commerce Departments, have had some of their computer systems breached as part of a widespread global cyber espionage campaign believed to be the work of the Russian government, according to officials and people familiar with the matter. Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service is suspected of being behind the hacks of the US government networks, in which some internal communications are believed to have been stolen. Several people familiar with the hack described it as among the most potentially worrisome cyber attacks in years because it may have allowed Russia to access sensitive information from government agencies, defense contractors, and other industries. One person familiar with the matter said the campaign was a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of its likely severity and national security implications. Russia and Putin have thus shown that they view the United States as their geopolitical adversary. Therefore, I am reiterating the warning to not put too much trust in Putin and Russia as an ally. Then continuing from that video, then routinely there are encounters between Russian fighter planes and American planes near America's borders, particularly in the Alaska area. Whenever there is fighting, such as in Syria in the past and against ISIS, Russian and American forces find themselves close to the fighting on opposite sides, though they have so far been able to avoid direct confrontation. Russian fighter jets have buzzed American Navy vessels many times in the past. This demonstrated hostility on the part of Putin and Russia indicates that they view themselves as adversaries of the United States and still retain much of the Cold War communist mindset. The second indicator that Russia will not come to the aid of the United States in its war with Germany, China, and Modi's India is that the Bible prophesies that no one will come to our aid when Germany and its alliance partners attack and defeat us. God calls all who we think are our friends and allies, including Germany, as our lovers. Jeremiah 4, verse 30 in the New King James Version says, "And when you," meaning Israel or America and British Commonwealth nations, "and when you are plundered, what will you do? Though you clothe yourself with crimson, though you adorn yourself with ornaments of gold, though you enlarge your eyes with paint, like a lover, in vain will you make yourself fair. Your lovers will despise you, they will seek your life." Then Jeremiah 30, verse 14 in the New Living Translation says, "All your lovers," meaning your allies, "have left you and do not care about you anywhere. I have wounded you cruelly as though I were your enemy, for your sins are many and your guilt is great." Then Lamentations 1 verses 1 to 2 state, "How does the city," talking about Jerusalem as a symbol for America, Britain, and Israel, "how does the city sit solitary that was full of people? How has she become a widow, she that was great among the nations and princess among the provinces? How has she become tributary? She weeps sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers she has none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her, they have become her enemies." Ezekiel 23 verse 9 in the New Living Translation says, "And so I handed her," meaning the house of Israel, "over to her Assyrian lovers, whom she desired so much." We do consider Germany as a NATO ally. These prophecies about America, British Commonwealth nations, and the state of Israel show that when the time for our defeat comes, all our allies, or lovers as the Bible calls them, will abandon us. Therefore, we cannot rely on Russia to come to our aid when there is war between us and Germany and its allies. The third indicator that Russia is hostile towards America is also provided in the Bible. We can understand German national characteristics from the book of Nahum in Nahum 3 verses 1 and 19. "Woe to the bloody city." This is talking about ancient Assyria's capital, Nineveh. "Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. Its victim never departs." Then in verse 19, "Upon whom has not your wickedness passed continually?" So this prophecy in the Bible indicates that the Germans are a bloody and murderous people. They are liars and robbers and are always victimizing someone or the other. Almost every nation on earth has been affected by their wickedness. Just as the Bible describes German national characteristics succinctly, Russia's characteristics are also described in the Bible by Ezekiel the prophet, particularly their attitude towards America, Britain, and Israel. Ezekiel 38 from the New King James Version says, "Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, which is Russia, Meshech, which is Moscow, and Tubal, which is Tobolsk, a city in Russia, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. After many days you will be visited in the latter years." When it's the latter years, it's talking about our time. "In the latter years you will come into the land of those brought back from the sword and gathered from many people on the mountains of Israel, which had long been desolate. They were brought out of the nation, and now all of them dwell safely. Now, these are Americans, Britons, and Jews rescued from slavery to the Germans and brought back to the land of Israel. Then continuing in verse 19, "You will ascend, coming like a storm, covering the land like a cloud, you and all your troops and many peoples with you." Then in verse 10, "Thus says the Lord God, on that day it shall come to pass that thoughts will arise in your mind, and you will make an evil plan. You will say, I will go up against a land of unwalled villages. I will go to a peaceful people who dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates, to take plunder and to take booty, to stretch out your hand against the waste places that are again inhabited, and against a people gathered from the nations who have acquired livestock and goods, who dwell in the midst of the land. Here God describes the attitude of Russia and its allies who will attack the land of Israel to plunder when they see the former slaves now living in prosperity. This shows that there is no natural friendship between Russia and America. The Cold War is also evidence of that. That's why I'm cautioning America, British Commonwealth nations, and Israel to be always on guard in their relationship with President Putin and Russia. There are situations when we need to cooperate with them for our own security. We should also have trade relations with them for mutual benefit, but always be on guard in case a Russian ruler turns aggressive and may have developed plans to attack us. In my previous videos, I have mentioned President Putin's Jewish background. Jews were removed from the land of Israel at 3 separate times. First, they were removed from the land after the northern kingdom of Israel had been conquered by the Assyrians. King Sennacherib conquered the fortified cities of Judah and removed the Jews. 2 Kings chapter 18 verse 13 states, and in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. These Jews were taken captives by the Assyrians and placed along with the Israelites who had been taken captive a few years earlier. Then most of the remaining Jews were conquered, taken captive and removed by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Some of them returned to Jerusalem after proclamation by King Cyrus of Persia. Then the Romans removed them in 70 AD and 136 AD after 2 revolts against Roman rule. Most of the Jews who have maintained their identity as Jews have done it because they have remembered the Sabbath day as their day of worship, though some may not have actually worshipped on that day, and maintained the Jewish culture and religious practices. Most of those who are known as Jews today are the descendants of those who were removed from in and around Jerusalem by the Romans. The Jews who did not return to Jerusalem and Israel during the days of Cyrus got busy with their lives and the business of survival, forgot the Jewish religion, mixed with other peoples, and adopted their real religion. My ancestors fall into this category. Now, most of the Jews who settled in Russia would be the descendants of those who were removed from Israel by the Romans. It's estimated that the Jews have been in Russia for about 1500 years. That is 60 to 70 generations. When one considers the fact that one Jew marrying an ethnic Russian means that their next generation has only 50% Jewish blood, in 60 to 75 generations, those claiming to be Jews today are likely to have much more Russian blood in them than Jewish blood, especially when one considers the fact that the number of Jews who settled in Russia relative to the ethnic Russian population has been small. But they have retained their Jewish identity because they have adhered to their worship practices and culture and have regained knowledge of the Sabbath as their day of worship, and have kept the Passover as a memorial of their exodus from Egypt. Many such people from countries around the world chose to immigrate to Israel after the Second World War, and some went on to the United States and Britain and Canada because of religious freedom there and economic opportunities. Often those who classify themselves as a minority ethnic group have done so because they have been careful to pass on that knowledge to each successive generation. In such cases, if a Jewish male married an ethnic Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, or someone from another group, because of family traditions, he would have passed on the knowledge of his Jewish ancestry to his children, though they were only half Jewish. Such intermittent mixing of 60 generations means that the percent of Jewish blood among those claiming to be Jews would be much less than 50%. They are more Russian than they are Jewish, yet they have maintained the Jewish culture, worship practices, and claim to be Jews only. Often those claiming to be of a particular minority group do so because of some financial advantage, even though the percentage of minority blood in them may be small. Prime example of that is that of those claiming to be German ancestry in America. After Germany passed on the technology to deliver threats electronically to those claiming to be of German ancestry in America, whom I call German masqueraders, they were able to control a very significant portion of America's economy and offer massive financial rewards to those who would murder a white adult and or child of non-German ancestry. Because of these financial incentives, many who would have an insignificant portion of German blood in them, of the order of 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, or even 1/34, 1/64, because an original patriarch carefully passed on the knowledge of his German ancestry to successive generations. They claimed to be of German ancestry so that they could take advantage of these incentives. In the same way, some may claim Jewish ancestry if it means promotion for them in their jobs or other financial rewards. On the other hand, those claimed to be Russian are likely to have significant Jewish blood in them. The latter example is similar to the case of African Americans in America. DNA results indicate that African Americans who look black can have Caucasian blood in them of the order of 6 to 25%. Then, because of persecution against the Jews sometimes, some Jews may have chosen to forget about their Jewish ancestry and deliberately mix with the Russian population. Subsequent generations of such Jews would have forgotten their Jewish ancestry and would have known themselves only as Russians, though they have added to the significant Jewish blood among those who classify themselves as purely Russian. This mixing would have been easy as both groups are white as compared to mixing of African Americans with whites in America. Then there is the factor of people claiming to be Jews when they have no Jewish blood in them. Such people have done so to affiliate themselves with Jewish society. Prime example is the Jews in the United States. My estimate is that more than 50% of those who claim to be Jews in America are German masqueraders. German masqueraders have been pushing those among them who have darker color and black to dark brown hair to masquerade as Jews and marry among them. The children of such marriages have then been taught that they are of German ancestry, such that population of such masqueraders increases while population of those who are genuine Jews decreases. That is a strategy that German masqueraders have used in America to darken white people of other ethnic backgrounds and destroy them from the inside by infiltrating their church. Another prime example is the Nazi President Zelensky of Ukraine and those around him who have taken control of the government in Ukraine. He falsely claims Jewish ancestry. My personal situation is a little different and would apply to many Jews who were never religious or had no interest in diligently retaining God of their Jewish heritage. They simply forgot their Jewish ancestry and adopted culture and religion of the people among whom they lived after they were removed from their lands. Now, Sainis of India had no idea that they were of Jewish ancestry. They are descendants of those who were removed from Israel after the conquest of Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar and subsequent captivity and settled in various Babylonian and Persian provinces, India being one of them, as stated in Esther 1 verse 1. My ancestors had lost all knowledge of the Sabbath or Jewish religion and practices and adopted Hinduism and Sikhism. Being of Jewish ancestry was not even able to a remote thought in my mind. But God wanted to draft me to do his work, to do his end time work. For that purpose, according to his prophecies, he had to choose a Jew. That prophecy is in Genesis 49, verse 10 in the New King James Version. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall the obedience of the people be. Now God made two promises to the descendants of Judah and the Jews. The first promise is of kingship over some tribe or tribes of Israel continually. That promise is being fulfilled by the British monarchy today. The second promise is of a lawgiver. This promise has also been fulfilled by some descendant of David like Jesus Christ. For doing his end time work of warning the world of coming global catastrophes followed by the establishment of God's kingdom, God first chose Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong, who was able to trace his ancestry through to British royalty, hence to King David. God chose me to continue the same work, but before I began the work, God first revealed to me in a message through an angel that Sainis of India are Jews. Then God confirmed my Jewish ancestry to Queen Elizabeth of Britain, that saying that I was also a descendant of King David, who was a Jew. I know that Sainis usually marry among themselves, though some don't. But the fact that we no longer look European white means that we have mixed to some degree with the local non-white populations in North India. I cannot say how much Jewish blood Sainis or I have, but it was enough for God Almighty to acknowledge us as of Jewish ancestry and me as a descendant of King David to fulfill his prophecy in Genesis 49 verse 10. Now my purpose in discussing Russians and Russian Jews is to caution in America in putting too much faith on a person or persons because they merely claim to be Jews. The amount of Jewish blood in them could be small, and people that claim to be Jews, their mindset may be adversarial to America, as some of Putin's actions show, and they seek to do only what is in the interests of their own country rather than what is mutually beneficial. In case Germany and China attack Russia, we should immediately go to war with them in alliance with Russia because it is our best interest to do so, to prevent Germany and China from defeating us one by one. But if we are attacked, I caution America and Britain to not expect any help from Russia and Putin and to develop our own war plans without assuming any Russian help. I don't know how much Jewish blood Putin has, but he probably has no way of knowing it either. There are probably Russians who have more Jewish blood in them, though they have no clue about it and think they have no Jewish blood in them, just like the Sainis and Jats in India had no clue that they were of Jewish ancestry. By his action, President Putin has recommended that he cares only for Russia and views America and British Commonwealth nations as a rival global power. But there is nothing wrong in caring deeply for your own country. Putin has demonstrated that he cares deeply for Russia and has gone to war in Ukraine because the Nazis like President Zelensky, who have taken control of the Ukrainian government, were planning to allow Germany to install nuclear, biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine to be used against Russia. They pose an existential threat to Russia. That's why President Putin wants to de-Nazify Ukraine. Now here are some very important observations I have made about the Jews and Germans. Among the tribes of Israel, God has had many Jews spread out over virtually the entire earth, but he has done that to fulfill two prophecies. The first prophecy is in Isaiah 27 verse 6. He shall cause them that come of Jacob, patriarch of the 12 tribes of Israel, to take root. Israel, that is Jacob's other name, shall blossom and bud and fill the face of the world with fruit. Yes, God is going to use the Jews to be spread around the world for good, to teach his ways, and even much more than they are spread around today. All nations of the world will seek spiritual and governance guidance from the Jews living among them, as prophesied in Zechariah 8, verses 22 to 23. Yea, many people shall and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts to Jerusalem, and to pray before the Lord. Thus is the Lord of hosts. In those days it shall come to pass that two men shall take hold of out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, I will go with you. These are Jews living in different countries as citizens in God's kingdom, much like they live today, for we have heard that God is with you. These are people of Jewish ancestry living in all countries of the world who will be the first to seek God, and their own other countrymen will then seek guidance from them on how to worship God. The Germans are Satan's model nation. They worship him and follow his way of life, of lying, oppressing other people, robbing, plundering, and victimizing them. Wherever they go, they try to dominate other people and wantonly murder them in the millions. They murder anyone who gets in their way. They do not contribute to the society to which they migrate, but take advantage of and plunder that society and enslave people as only they can. According to God's purpose, Jews have been a force of good around the world because of their fear of God. They do not wantonly kill people. They have contributed to a society in which they live with matchless advances in art, science, and culture. On the other hand, Satan has planted the garden in almost all white countries to destroy the people among whom they have lived. German masqueraders Latin and Stalin are examples, who murdered tens of millions of their own Russian citizens and developed the Gulag system to oppress and torture them more, and inflict as much pain and suffering on them as they could. Afflicting other people for no reason is their nature. And another German masquerader, Gorbachev, was instrumental in breaking up the Soviet Union. Khrushchev, who had some Jewish blood in him, was a royal Russian who had some Jewish blood in him, was a loyal Russian who challenged the USA to protect Russia and did away with the Gulag system, ending the horrible oppression inflicted upon the Russian people by Stalin. Ultimately, God's purpose through the Jews will be fulfilled, and they will spread out over all the earth and be sought for guidance by their fellow citizens, whereas Satan's purpose through the Germans to destroy mankind will come to an end. German infiltration into other countries will end. God has prophesied that end and will bring it all to fruition. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and report my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos. Some people think they do not have time to go through the full length of videos. They find it more convenient to read the text of the video. Unfortunately, YouTube does not provide that facility to make the text of my video available on YouTube. But fortunately, Facebook does provide that capability, so that I am able so that the text and envy of my videos available on Facebook channel, which you can easily copy.